to the cloud, and we're doing it. But yeah, so I don't know what it looks like to the neighbors, but like in my apartment complex, there's just woods that like wrap around it. And last night I was just walking around following the game trails just as discreetly as possible, like seeing how close I could get to the deer. You know, future training for being the future Cam Hanes version of ourselves, you know. We're definitely going to do that. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be our time away just to go on a trip, reconnect with nature, because it's like a super park walk where you're just like concentrated on one thing. And I didn't think about anything else the entire time.
Dude, I would love to. And one of the things, like I wanted to get into the hunting a couple of years ago, but I wanted to get into woodworking more.
Yeah.
So you only have so much time to really dive deep into a hobby. We'll call it a hobby. But, you know, in the last few months or so, I really got like a reinvigorated interest in the hunting. And luckily, as a school owner, we're just surrounded by crazy hunters. So one of my students gave me like a crack barrel pellet gun that apparently will take the head off of like a turkey at 100 yards, but I didn't have the heart to do it, man. I couldn't bring myself to do it. And I think one of the things I realized was it wasn't hard enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like we need to be like in the woods in like Idaho, like trudging through sludge for like a week and a half before I think I can pop.
And have that be like a full spiritual experience. My thing is like, I eat meat no matter what. You know, I'm going to eat meat like 2-3 times a day sometimes. And it's just like, if I'm going to be eating it anyway, I'd rather have a better life, come from a more spiritual experience, and just know that it's healthier for me and my family. You know, so I think that's definitely the future. Like the 5-year from now version of me is getting all of his meat from his own resourcefulness and then just growing a ton of vegetables.
Yeah.
You should have a garden, dude. You could have a garden.
I can't. Yeah, but I can't even plant flowers because the deer just come by and destroy everything.
Gotcha.
Like we literally sit out back. I'll sit with my girls and we'll yell at the deer. Like Scar will be like, "Don't eat our flowers," and they just look at us. So I would have to build out like a crazy 6 or 7 foot high fence, and it's just not something I feel like doing right now.
Yeah, I hear you.
Get there.
Dude, I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to catch up with you and then, you know, hang out with everybody. Tell me about your health. I don't want to hear about all the Corona stuff and the school stuff because that's all of our conversations. Tell me about your health. What are you doing right now to tend to your body?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. I would say yesterday was probably the worst I have done since this whole thing hit, and I kind of opened the floodgates yesterday.
Ate some good food?
Yeah, but I messed up. It started with the morning. So that means the floodgates were wide open for about 12 hours. But I've been doing pretty good, man. I've been lifting like a madman. I don't know if you could tell, but I'm jacked. And it's just crazy how much more my joints are receptive to heavy weightlifting when we're not trying to strangle people all day.
Eating, you feel like put together?
Yeah, dude, everything feels good, like sturdy. But I just started adding back in cardio. Like I got Melissa one of those Echelon bikes. It's like a Peloton.
How is that?
It's all right, man. It's tough sitting in a room. Just like, luckily I like you, like we kind of like to suffer a little bit. So I'm pretty good at just putting my head down and like wait until I feel that pain and being like, how far can I take this craziness? But I'm starting to realize like one of the scary things about and I know you don't want to talk Corona, but this is where I'm at, dude.
No, please.
Me and Melissa have taken this approach that our job right now is to treat this as though we're training for a fight. So how healthy can I make my lungs and how healthy can I make my heart? And when people talk a lot about like social distancing for like the social responsibility part of it, like we owe it to the vulnerable populations to stay home, and we owe it to our healthcare workers to stay home, right? And we do, but I think it's just we're taking the wrong approach. Like, yeah, you should stay home. That's responsible, but it's irresponsible to be fat. And it's, you know, like it's irresponsible to have no lung capacity right now. Mm-hmm. So on one hand, be responsible and stay home, which we're doing. But on the other hand, like, God forbid we get hit with this thing and we get hit with it bad. It'd be irresponsible to not be in incredible cardio shape. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Like Melissa was already on the bike before me. I'm on the bike now, and that's how I'm treating it, dude. I'm treating it as though I'm preparing for a fight.
Man, that's awesome. I'm kind of doing something similar. So my life physical goal is I want to walk through the park at 100. Now, when I say that, the park I'll be living at 100 is probably a mountain, right? So I want to hike mountains at 100 years old. And that's what I'm training for. So I'm kind of like doing a periodization going backwards. Like, what's the next 67 years of training look like to get to my Olympics of being 100 on a mountain? And dude, it's so different from training how we used to train. You know, it's much more intelligent and much more, you know, some intensity, but not too much, and controlled volume. But I'm finding that it needs to be very diverse. So like I'll go hiking, I'll go run, I'll go for a bike ride, I'll do yoga, I'll lift weights, I'll do loaded carries, I'll do sled drags. And I'm just doing any different way I can challenge my body where I'm not accruing those acute injury, or not even chronic injuries, just that same repetitive motion over and over, because my body can't do it. Like,
Nah, man, like how many times have we been hyperextended in an arm bar? Like,
right?
you can't do that anymore.
No.
What do you have any method to your madness, or is you wake up and you're like, what can I do to my body today?
So the general method, and this has been awesome, like, you know, we can't train jujitsu, so I've kind of moved the whole school toward like a more of a fitness movement. Like, this is the training for when you can get back to jujitsu. So I've just thought, like, what is my ideal training schedule? And that's our online academy as far as fitness classes. So Monday and Wednesday is solo jujitsu movement during the day, because you have to move. Like, for us, it's almost like that's our art, right? Where we get to be artists for half an hour and move our bodies like that. So I do Monday and Wednesday solo jiu-jitsu. Monday and Wednesday evening is mobility and recovery. Tuesday and Thursday are weights, like a circuit that's, you know, part strength, part cardio, but it's the only time I really encounter any weight that's not my body weight. And then Saturday I do yoga. So that's like 2 mobility, 2 jiu-jitsu, 2 lifting, 1 yoga. And then I also run, you know, most mornings, and walk through the park or walk somewhere every day, you know? So that's kind of what I'm doing. That's my approach.
But it's pretty structured. Like, do you know on Sunday what your week will look like training wise?
It's structured because of the academy. It used to be, and I think ideal for me, because of the miles we've accrued, is just waking up and asking your body, what do you want today? What do you need today?
Yeah, more like what will you allow of me today? What can you please do today?
Yeah, but I mean, that's not sustainable as far as, you know, building a community of like-minded fitness people around that. So there it is. It certainly is. But yeah, I prior to all of this, I was just listening to my body and asking, what do you want today?
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, train, like Peter Attia talks about that, where he's like, all right, I think he has the same goal of like walk at 100 or something. So it's like, all right, what does a functional 100-year-old have to do? I need to be able to carry groceries. So like, you'll do farmer's walks, you know, I need to be able to take a piece of luggage and put it above my seat when I'm on an airplane, like that kind of stuff. And I
know he talks a lot about being able to get off the floor, right?
Yeah.
Being able to go to the floor and get up. Turkey, man, I'll get up with a 100-year-old in my hand when I'm 100.
Right. But his big argument is that there's going to be a diminishment in your strength. So if you need to carry 2 20-pound groceries now, then you have to be, or at 100, you have to carry way more than that now.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do all that. Like, I've become, I don't want to say obsessed, but I only become obsessed or I neglect something completely. I've become a big fan of Cameron Haynes, like we were talking about in the beginning of the podcast. He's like, you know, an exceptional archer, but the dude runs a marathon a day. Like, that's what he does.
Yeah, but he's also destroyed himself.
So have we, you know, but in my head, it's like, there's a 50-year-old dude who's running a marathon every day. He's living his passion, you know, going hunting. He's working out with weights. And it's like, yeah, by the time I'm 50, I want to be doing something close to that within what my body would allow.
Is he 50?
Yeah, I think he's like 52 or something.
Wow. And you know what else you probably respect of him is he still works for the National Park Service.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's still a ranger, right? Like, he doesn't have to do that.
I thought he like worked for a sewer authority, and then he was on different like governing bodies as far as parks. I don't know. But yeah, he works a regular job. Like there's one video of him on YouTube where he gets up at 2:45, runs like, 15 miles through his neighborhood, then shoots, then goes home, has his coffee, shoots a little bit more, works a full day, but he takes a long lunch hour to go run 10 miles. And then he works out at night.
Crazy, man.
Dude. I mean, but that's like, I don't know about you, but man, like I have been more on a computer in the last month or however long it's been that I have been ever. And dude, it's not for me. Like I need to be outside and moving. I can't do this long term. And maybe that's like the one thing that this Corona thing has shown me is just like, I want to be more sustainable where I'm not beholden to have to be on a screen and I can be wandering through nature,
Man, you know what? Yeah, I've been on a computer probably twice as much as you.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it probably half as much as you detest it. So I would say it probably evens out is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I'm in the same boat. I don't want to do this forever. Yeah. I will do it for as long as I have to, though, for my students and for like the lifestyle that we've built.
Yeah.
So I want to be clear about that. And I'm sure you will too. Like no matter how much we don't like it, we're going to do it because like, our students deserve it for lack of a better word. Yeah. But I'm also glad at this opportunity because you see those stupid memes kicking around. And it's like, if you don't come out of this with a newfound skill, you never lacked time, you lacked discipline.
Yeah.
What a condescending, stupid thing to say because I don't have any time. Like I would love to check in with these guys that posted that meme. Like, have you learned French yet? Did you write that novel that you were talking about when you posted that meme? You condescending D-bag. Anyway, the point is, this has forced me to learn how to build an online program, how to do podcasts, all these things that we've been kicking around for a couple of years that we never really did. This has forced us to do it. Now, here's the good news. When the dust settles and we get to go back to living our physical lives that we really miss and cherish, we're still going to have these skills, only the time it's going to take to do a podcast or to make an online course or something, it's going to be second nature, like the Kimura, like the guillotine is. So that's good because we'll carry that over. But no, I hate it. I'm not happy.
Dude, and man, like I don't know, I feel for everybody, right? Like compassion means to suffer with. And if you don't develop compassion now, when we're all suffering from the exact same thing, being cooped up in our homes with our life on pause, but it's not really on pause because we know you're either improving or getting worse. So it's just like, if you're not actively going up, it's gradually going down. And whatever it is, your work life, your relationships. And just to share in this struggle, I don't know, like I see a stranger on the street and we're quicker to make eye contact, like we're more connected. So it's going to be a challenge of when we come out of this and we're back to normal, how can you take that compassion that you feel now for everybody? And as soon as our lives become radically different, still remember that fundamentally our lives are the same. Like that's going to be the challenge.
The scary thing for me is I'm not an alarmist. I'm a realist, I guess. I think we can all agree it's going to get kind of goofy before it gets better.
Yeah.
And when I say goofy, it's going to get a little bit harder and a little bit worse. Right? Like you're going to start seeing all the scary, scary headlines about like unemployment funds are going to be, drying up. And I'm not worried about all that stuff because there's so many easy fixes and they'll figure it out. But those headlines scare the crap out of people. So I'm not saying like I'm expecting the worst to come out for a little bit, but we know that people are going to get a little bit goofy when they think resources might be a little bit more scarce. That's what I'm a little bit afraid of. But like you said, like when we are outside playing with the girls in the front yard and like an old couple walks by, we're like chatting it up for at least 10 minutes with these people. And we never did that before. And that's pretty cool. And do we carry that over? I hope to God we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like right now we're all itching to get back to training and we're all joking about like, it's going to be like, 6 hour like roll-a-thon. The truth is it'll be 6 minutes and everybody's going to be throwing up on each other. But that excitement, how long can we hold on to that? Right? Like
the excitement of training without getting the training.
Just like the appreciation. Right now, all we want to do is be together on the mat. And the first couple weeks back, it's going to be like, Christmas is not even, doesn't know justice, but how long is that going to last?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like the beauty of your bachelor party, that nice hike that we took where we saw the most beautiful parts of nature.
Yeah.
I carried that with me for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it kind of fades away when like the world rushes over you.
Dude, and you have to constantly feed that. Like whatever, I don't know, my terminology stuck now, this Huxley's terminology, for better and for worse. And he had that saying, for God's kingdom to come, man's kingdom must go. That hike where we were just at Sunfish Pond in where was that? I guess Delaware Water Gap, right?
Yeah.
That was God's kingdom, you know, where it was just like 7 dudes not asking anything of the moment other than just to be there after a strenuous hike to get there. Like, that's God's kingdom. But the problem is, you go away on a trip like that, on a retreat, and you come back, you get back into man's kingdom, and it's like, while we were on that retreat, God's kingdom was here, man's kingdom was here. And then we came back, and it slowly shifted. Maybe a week went by, you're back to full responsibilities, and now all you see is man's kingdom, and God's kingdom's gone, right? He's out of the screen. So our job is to constantly remember to go back. And it's different for all of us. Like I know for me, I need a daily reset in nature where there's no screens, there's no people. I go away, I get real quiet, and God's kingdom comes right back. And I always do it like first thing in the morning. So it's like I fill up that tank because I know, and this is coming from an unenlightened place, that all my man's kingdom responsibilities are going to get to me by the end of the day.
Yeah.
So let's charge up each day. It's like you plug in your phone, you know, to charge your battery. I plug in myself by going to nature. And we're fortunate enough for the lifestyles we've created where whenever I feel that need, I just go back to the park and I reset. And now, you know, things have changed with all that. But I think we all have different battery life of how long we need to recharge and how often we need to recharge. And the key is learning how you can recharge your battery and at what intervals your soul requires you to do it, and then build a lifestyle that allows you to charge your battery.
Yeah. So the challenge is finding that recharge.
Yeah.
This
like
is different
for you,
for
probably what? Jiu-jitsu, woodworking?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much any kind of solitude. And I do like getting lost in it. That's why I took to woodworking so much. I just like getting lost in it. You know, I like getting lost in jiu-jitsu. And I'm lucky enough when we are training, like there'd just be random times training where we get 30 guys in the room and we're training really hard. And I just look out the window and it's just a beautiful day and I'm dying and I'm looking around, everybody's like getting after it. And I literally stop everybody and just have everybody check in with themselves. The guys, like, this is it. We're doing it. This is amazing. Let's hold on to this. We've done that before. So I can only imagine that we'll continue to do it, and probably more so when we're back.
Yeah.
But man, it's this is hard. This is like a really tough situation to be in.
It is. I mean, so we all have that. Yeah, you have an obligation to healthcare workers to quarantine yourself. You have an obligation to yourself to not let this break you down, right? Like we love Hemingway. A man can be destroyed but not defeated.
Yep.
Like we're all destroyed now. That's just a given. But you can choose not to be defeated. And dude, like we flirt with it. Like some days I'm rocking and everything is awesome. And then other days I get worn down and I need to build in the things that pick me back up. And we know what it is. It's like, did you work out today? Did you eat healthy today? Did you get a good night's sleep? Did you practice gratitude? Did you meditate? You know, did you get outside? Like we know what the script is. It's just doing it.
I know, it's just so hard, man. And this is when you and I talk privately, we always come back to this, and I hate making excuses and complaining, but it's like one of the hardest things for this quarantine, and anybody with kids listening is going to agree. It's like they hear you say, yeah, I just go in the park and I meditate. They're like, oh yeah, where do you put your kids?
Yeah.
You know, like one of the hardest things is there is no downtime. So like I just put my one daughter to sleep, and my other daughter is doing like a birthday parade where they drive to the house. Cool. And that's cool. So man, I have like 45 minutes to myself, and this is probably the first time in maybe, 5 weeks that I have like 45 minutes to myself. So finding quiet time is so hard. And even before this, man, like we had a babysitter and she was great. But the truth is, like the 4 hours where we had her, I was teaching noon class. I was like taking care of promotions. I was just doing all the stuff that life demands.
Mhm.
So that wasn't free time. There's nothing free about it. And then I would struggle to find that quiet, like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's funny because like I'd be sitting there with my daughter in the dark and she's falling asleep in my arms and I love it and I'm there with her. But it's like, all right, here's my chance for quiet. And then, you know, it's not really quiet because she's like asking me to sing her a song and like her sound machine is going. So I come downstairs. All right, let me steal 10 minutes in the backyard of quiet. Man, the neighbors mowing his grass. The airplanes are flying overhead. There's no quiet there. Let me go to the school. There's no quiet there.
Yeah.
The truth is, man, the only quiet I get in my life now, actual quiet of my mind, is training.
Yeah.
Hard training.
Yeah.
You know, like when you would think completely the opposite is occurring where I'm fighting for my life. So every neuron is firing in my brain. It's quite the opposite. It's almost like one neuron's firing so hard and the rest are just quiet. And I haven't had that. I haven't had that in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I have found a lot of solace and value in studying Ram Dass. I know we've talked a lot about him, right? You watch Going Home, or not Going Home, Becoming Nobody, which is exceptional. And his whole thing, his thesis is like, yo, whatever you're experiencing now, it is the exact gift that the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, gave you. It's the grist for the mill of your awakening. It's like you don't need to go to India and meditate for 20 years. You don't need to go find a cave. What you've been given is exactly what you need to awaken further. And that's one hand, it's like, dude, I don't want to hear that. Like, that's not helpful, you know? But the other hand is like, yeah, what if you started to find quiet and silence when you are surrounded by everybody? You know, like that, he would argue of like, he called it relationship yoga, like your relationships with Melissa and the girls, like that's a form of yoga, you know, and that can be a form of presence and finding that love. And it's a call to action where it's like, yo, you have to step up. Like you have to become way more than you are to get to use that as a exercise.
Look, that would be like me going to Ram Dass and being like, and having like Marcelo Garcia playing butterfly guard against him and me going, just knee slide guard pass. Like Ram Dass, this is grist for the mill. Just pass his guard.
Pass the guard.
Man, I get it, and you're right, but you need a baseline understanding and skill set.
They're both skills. They are both skills.
So is De La Riva guard, man. That'd be like me going to somebody uninitiated in jiu-jitsu being like, just wrap your leg around the outside of their knee.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's a tall order, man, but it's in the right place, and it's good to begin with the end in mind, right?
Yeah. Just like you want to someday play butterfly guard like Marcelo Garcia, I want to someday find peace and quiet like Ram Dass.
Right. It's good to know like where you got to end up.
Yeah. And I mean, to be clear, like I think like enlightenment, whatever that stuff is, it's a continuum where I would call it being fully present and immersed, where one neuron, as you said, is firing. And if there's 24 hours in a day, maybe you experience that an hour a day when you do jiu-jitsu. You are enlightened for an hour a day. And that's an incredible testament. And in that ideology, right, it took countless lifetimes for you to get to a place where you could have 1 hour of that peace. But then our challenge is, how can I have an hour and 5 minutes? And it's like interval training where you're doing like interval presence and mindfulness where, okay, I'm going to get 5 minutes here. I'm going to get an hour here.
Yeah. But one thing, if we're going to use the analogy to jiu-jitsu, the truth is, man, like, yeah, that for that 1 hour of hard training, I'm enlightened, we'll call it, but it's not black and white. It's not, I'm either like in that blissful state or I'm not. It's not, because there's still the walk to the car. That feels pretty damn good, but not the same. Mm-hmm. And then there's when I first get home and I'm taking a shower, I'm still feeling pretty goddamn, I'm still not in man's kingdom yet. I'm not fully immersed in that like flow state of jiu-jitsu, but I think maybe it'd be more helpful to look at it like that. Like it's a continuum.
Yeah.
maybe there is that blissful state where you are completely present, but like driving home from your bachelor party, like it wasn't that same state of climbing that mountain,
Yeah.
but man, there was something different that was still great.
Yeah. 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 No doubt. And I think that's the best we can do is just, we have Western minds where improvement is built into like our psychology. Like, dude, get one more minute of enlightenment today, whatever it is, and then just keep going down that. Um, I I've gone back and forth with meditation like my whole life, and we've talked about it for like 10 years. I currently am in the boat that, yeah, obviously it's amazing and everyone should do it. But the point isn't to be able just to sit down for 20 minutes and it's like, I'm a meditator, like a Western achiever accomplishment.
Yeah.
The point is like when I'm doing dishes, I'm just doing dishes. I remember when we were in the school, like 6 weeks ago, I went up to Big Jimmy Larkin and I was so pumped. And I was like, Jimmy, I did it. Dude, I was making eggs today and I flipped the perfect egg and nothing else existed in the universe but me and that egg. And it was perfect. And dude, I was as excited about that as like close to as excited as I was like when we would win MMA fights. Like it was just on par with that. It was so beautiful. But the point was I wasn't meditating. I was making breakfast.
Yeah.
And it's to learn to whatever it is you're doing to actually do that thing.
Well, we tend to mess everything up, right? Maybe it was Sam Harris was talking about his app. And maybe it was that or one of these apps, but you could track your meditation.
Okay.
And then you can share it. And what was happening was people were going like, I meditated my ass off. I'm the number one meditator in this group. Totally just like whoosh.
It's spiritual materialism, which is the last place that your ego is going to hide is in spirituality,
It's a mess. It's a mess.
We're so simple. Like we're trying to play this like incredibly complex game and we're so simple, it's so easy to lose your way. But that's, dude, lately I've been, because especially the more inclined you are to think logically, the more you identify with this. And if this is man's kingdom, like coming down into your heart is God's kingdom. And dude, I've been paying attention to that feeling where say you're upset at someone's actions, all of you is coming from right here, right? That's where that harsh voice is. That's where that energy is, that judgment. But then think about like when you're playing with Scarlett in the backyard and you pick up a flower. Like there's no here, it's all here.
Yeah.
And like that assemblage point moves. And I've been just trying to spend more of my time here and then call on this guy when I need it, right? Like take the stairs up, work here, and then come back down. And I fail more often than I succeed. But at least now I'm aware that like there are levels, there are channels that you can
It's definitely, look, it's definitely, there's Scar. Scar, can you go get mommy, please? It's definitely something you can learn because if Spock can learn how to do it and you're Spock, like figure out the connection. Because if you're talking about logic, man, logic has been, you might not realize it. Logic has been like the guiding principle of your life for the vast majority of the time I've known you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's clearly changing. And does that mean compassion and empathy can be learned? Does it mean that it was just there and you uncovered it through hard work? I don't know what it means. But when I first met you, you were on a different path and it manifested differently. Like I would say compassion was not your guiding principle.
Not at all. Not at all. Dude, I wanted to be a nighttime security guard so I could read Western philosophy and not talk to people.
But now it's but the point is like you're authentic. I don't think you're acting as though you're compassionate. So is it learned? Was it always there and you uncovered it? I don't know. What do you think?
So Ram Dass's documentary was called Becoming Nobody, which was such a beautiful wisdom-filled idea that we're all in somebody training. And your whole life, it's like I'm trying to be somebody. And the more you're around other people who are somebody and they approve of your somebodyness, you feel really good about yourself. But I think we both know that like, we both had an idea of who we wanted to become. We wanted to be school owners, so we did it. And as far as my somebodyness, like nothing changed. I'm still me, playing a different game. And I kind of I think as the years have gone by and whatever little, I haven't done anything vast, but whatever little accomplishments that I wanted to do that I did, I always recognized that like at my depths, they never really touched my depths. You know, like the Man's Kingdom game was like a cool game. But for example, when I tore both pecs and I was sitting in bed in shock and like going through that experience, like my body was in physical shock and like excruciating pain. But I knew that like, deep down, nothing's changed. Like Chris was untouched, even though I may never do anything physical again. And thank God that I moved past that. But at that moment, I wasn't sure what physical life I was going to have. And I knew that you're still here. Like whatever it is that you are is still here underneath all this stuff. So I think my life has been doing the Man's Kingdom stuff, recognizing that like, you go to that well and you can drink from it a couple times, but it doesn't quench your thirst. You have to find a different well. And it's that well that's always been here. We're always trying to go somewhere and achieve something, but you achieve that goal. And then as soon as you get there, you pick a new goal and you head in that direction. Now my goal is like just to be where I'm at with whoever I'm with. And it's a much more fulfilling life.
Yeah. And to be clear, man, you can have different goals at the same time. So it's not like one or the other. Like, I think that's a very important distinction. Like I'm with you, but you talked about like you reach one goal and it doesn't do for you what you thought it was going to do. And a good example is that when we were fighting, I just remember the letdown and the shock at how much it didn't feel as good as I thought it would feel. And that, for that reason, I didn't stay in the game because it didn't do for me what I thought it would. But then I thought that having the school be a roaring success would do it. And it was, and the school is successful and we crushed every goal I ever had. And then some. Like my initial goal, my dream had always been jiu-jitsu school at the beach with 250 students. That was the goal. Yeah. Not at the beach, close enough. But man, we blew past 250, and this is not to impress you guys, it's to impress upon you that when I hit 250, I'll feel good. And when I saw that number, I did one of these, yes, and now it was gone because after the next number, 3 seconds. The next number was 275, yes, and then 300 I thought would be a celebration. No, 350 came, that felt great, but you know what replaces it is like just seeing somebody step up and be an instructor man, I gotta warn you, this sounds corny and cliche and rehearsed, and it is not. Like the thing that feels the best is when I'm sitting on the couch at 11 o'clock at night before we go to bed, me and Melissa, and I get a random email or a message from somebody who's just like, man, I just gotta say thank you for what this program has done for me. Like I'm this, and this, and I never thought I could be, and it means the world. Things like that. And again, corny cliche, but at the end of the day, you realize that's what matters. Now, we talked about this briefly the other day. So me and my like Melissa's family, we're all very close. We spend a lot of time together. They're all very ambitious people in their own rights. And we're all very successful in our own chosen fields. And the funny thing is, this thing happened, and for 6 weeks, we can't see each other or spend time with each other, and nobody gives a damn about their chosen professions anymore. Yeah. They care about the fact that we can't spend time together. Yeah. And we got to spend like a brief, like socially distant, like driveway chat the other day. And it just felt great, man. Like your heart just felt incredible, way better than it felt when my student count went from 300 to 350.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also want to point out, like, that 350 count is important to me, and use the word validating, use the word legitimate, whatever you want to use. Those have negative connotations, but I like how that feels. I like being able to accomplish those things that I set out to do a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's an incredible thing. When you think about 350 students, each student comes with at least one other person, right? A spouse, a parent. You're looking at siblings, you're looking at a community of like 1,000 people. And when you realize what this whole Corona experience has taught all of us is how important community is. Like, look how we're all going out of our way to talk to a screen. We never did this stuff.
Nah.
But you manifested, you and your incredible team built a community of 1,000 people. Bro, there are many towns in America that are less than 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Really cool.
And it's important. It's important. You know what else, man? You've probably been in the game long enough for this to happen at least a couple times. But you got to keep in mind that before I was even at Ricardo's, I was teaching karate. So I started teaching karate in 2006 to 2007. So how long ago was that? Let me take off my socks and count toes. It was a long time ago. So I'm getting messages now from kids that were like 4 years old in that program, who are like graduating college or something like that. Like I just got a message from Pat Robinson, Big Pat, real Big Pat. His kid was in my program at Ricardo's way back in the day. Wow. He's like one of the top recruited basketball players in the country right now. He sent me his highlight tape. I was blown away, man. But the point is, like, little Pat will never forget me. Yeah. For as long as he lives. Like, I will never forget my Pee Wee football coach for as long as I shall live. And I just got so many good things from him. And the truth is, he might have been an alcoholic. He might have been, like, mean to his kids. Who knows? But I learned a couple incredibly valuable skills from him. And it doesn't matter that he's not perfect. And I'll never forget him for my entire life. Yeah. So that's, like, you know, a big part of what we do for people and why I feel so damn good.
Yeah. I think it's very difficult to do something good that's net positive. It's very easy to do something that's net negative. I mean, you can take countless roads. It's that idea that, you know, narrow is the way and few are those who find it. Like, dude, to be a positive impact on other people's lives is an absolute gift. Like, to actually get to serve, right? And not serve as I'm using you as a means of gratifying my ego, because if you need help, I'm better than you and I am now, like, all that stuff, which is a game, a spiritual
Are you saying there's people in the jiu-jitsu community that have such an outlook?
I'm saying that.
I know what you're saying.
But what I'm saying is to genuinely just meet someone from my heart space to your heart space and not want anything from you. I'm not trying to pull something out of you to reinforce myself. Like, just connecting and giving. And it's not even a give, right? Because you got from Pat Robinson's son just as much as he got from you in one way or another, right? There was an exchange just to meet and connect. Like, it's a rare, beautiful thing. And to get to do it through a vehicle we love. Like, dude, I've been training since 2008, and I've said from day one, right? Like, jiu-jitsu is a vehicle for personal development. Like, for me, it was always a vehicle that was subordinate to my humanity, right? And there were times it was really close, but for me, it was always a tool, you know? And now it's like, it's weird. Like, I almost feel like at the academy, I opened up like a canoe store, right? You know, it's like a raft to get from one shore to the other. It's like I opened up a raft store where it's like, guys, I found this raft that has completely changed my life, and I want to give it to you. So if you guys stay here, I'll teach you how to build a raft. It's going to take 10 years. But it's going to take you from where you are to where you want to go. And I've kind of enjoyed, especially when my body was all messed up the last like year where I couldn't train, just to identifying with, like, I'm the guy that gets to help you build your raft. And even if I can't play with the raft anymore, I don't need to. It's cool. It got me where I need to go. Now let's build your raft. Just to help people build rafts is an incredible gift.
Yeah. Talk about fulfilling and purpose. And it's something that it will always be a lopsided relationship. You talked about that relationship. We will always be way better off for it than the other way around. And which is saying a lot, because what we do does change people's lives. Yeah. And that sounds kind of, I don't know.
But the key is to know that, we're not the ones doing it. It's literally, you are the ferryman.
That's a really good point. I say that all the time, and like, thank God for my wife, but I'm so hard on myself, and she'll constantly say things like, look what you're doing for people, or like, look at what the school has become. I'm like, I didn't do anything. Like, jiu-jitsu is working the magic. Yeah. Like, I just introduced them to jiu-jitsu. Like, jiu-jitsu does all the hard lifting. Yeah. Same thing when parents are like, you guys are so good with kids and I can't get them to focus on anything. I'm like, I appreciate that. And we are good with kids. Like, we do know how to build rapport and keep people focused, but jiu-jitsu is doing all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to teach them how to, like, I'm not teaching arithmetic. I'm teaching arm bars, man.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
coolest.
Yeah. But I mean, the best thing that we have done is you create the space for people to experience that vehicle. You know, that's our role as a school owner, as a leader of that community, is simply, it's like we're possessing fire, you know, and it's this thing that everyone can take, come light your stick and change your life. Our job is just to, keep a structure around the fire to keep it safe,
Yeah.
to stoke it ourselves and to share it with people, but we're not the fire. And I mean, that's a common mistake, is instructors think that like they're the thing that people have access to that's so valuable. And in some ways that's true, in other ways it's not true. But the most valuable part of the experience is that you create a space for a conscious sentient being to confront what's challenging on behalf of their soul to become something more.
Right.
And we get to watch that happen. Like, my favorite part of this whole jiu-jitsu experience is just to meet all these exceptional people, because you have to be different to take on this voluntary struggle, and just to watch them play with that fire and just watch what they become. Like, it's so much fun to see the development, to see people lose weight, to see people come out of their shells. Like, we are the stewards of that gift. We're not the gift, we're the steward of it, right? Like in all
Yeah.
those like ancient movies where it's like guarding the scrolls, like we're a guard of the scroll, you know?
Yeah. That's one of the problems in what we do, though. Like, in martial arts in general, like, people want to be the sage on the stage, you know, like it becomes hero worship so quickly. Even if you don't have that as your intent as the school owner, you're up there showing people you look like a ninja. Like, you possess all the mysterious knowledge, and our natural, tendency in our brain is to follow people like that blindly, right? And put them on a pedestal. That's dangerous, man. That's sage on the sage stuff. So my goal has always been like, be as transparent and authentic as possible. But at the same time, like, we do owe it to our students to be to play a certain role. And that doesn't mean to be a character, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you do owe it to your students to be a little more guarded in what you say, to be a little bit more guarded in how you look and how you carry yourself and the way your people around you perceive you. And like, when we first opened the school, for me, that was like, I was like 28, 29, and I still had a lot of things to figure out on my own. So I was a little more guarded. Like, I wasn't hanging out with my students, just because like it wouldn't be fair for them to see everything
Who you
behind
actually
it.
are.
Yeah, because I wasn't there yet. Like, I wasn't who I needed to be yet. Not to say I was like skinning like cats in my garage, but I was figuring out life. But now, like, man, I am an open book. I will tell you whatever the hell's going on in my mind, because there is who my students deserved for me to be, and maybe who I really was. But man, over the last 6 years, like, they became the same exact person. There's no difference, man. And it happened out of necessity and maybe out of like fear, but it happened. It happened is the point.
Yeah.
But still, I'm not the sage on the stage. I'm not like the giver of the knowledge. I'm in this boat with you guys. And one of the things I stress all the time is we're classmates. And it just so happens that I'm the senior ranking classmate, so I got to teach.
Yeah.
But like, I'm in this boat with you guys, and you're my training partners and you're my classmates.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of that stems from the psychology of the leader, where are you trying to create followers or are you trying to create leaders? And it becomes a very different environment from the get-go. Like, to bring in a little Joseph Campbell, where he says, if you are on the path, you're on someone else's path, that you only get to forge your path by walking, which means you're always going through brush. And when you look back, there's a clear path, but you made it. And if you're actually living a life uniquely your own, there is no path. So who am I to be a sage on the stage and be like, yeah, I know what I'm doing? I'm barely figuring out what works for my particular proclivities and weaknesses, so on and so forth. I have no idea what your path should be. So, I mean, it's beyond hubris to think that like, I found the way. Now, that being said, you can take a bird's eye view, and there is a general way that all the religions have tried to show us, and when I talk about myself, I talk about myself as a case study, right? Because it's the only information I have, and there's probably cross-person similarities that you can extract out from my information to improve yours. But dude, like when we were in high school, this is something Jordan Peterson talks about. When we were in high school, we were all playing the same game. We took the same classes. We were trying to get the same starting job on the football team, date the same girls, and there were very clearly defined metrics as to where you are in the pecking order. And it was easy to compare because we had the same curriculum. But now, dude, like you and I are both school owners, our lives are incredibly different. We know, like personally, we're playing a very different game. To compare each other's paths and games, it's beyond apples and oranges. Like, I think you get to a point where when you're living a life uniquely your own, comparisons are out the window. And it's trite, but the only comparison is where am I relative to my potential? And your potential is going to be like a cornucopia of, well, I'm going to have this kind of relationship to jiu-jitsu. I'm going to have this business life, and I'm going to have this relationship and these passions. And you can piecemeal, like, all right, for my academy, I want Pete McHugh to be like my guide, right? And someone I aim at. For my health, I want to aim at like Joe Rogan and be jacked at 50 years old. And you can take mentors and guides and sages on the stage for different parts of your life, but never for the whole of your life, because we're all just so different.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it was from you, man. You might have said this to me like 10 years ago or something, but you said just to understand my value structure and understand it well, and then be sure that the people I choose as my mentors, that I'm okay with their value structure.
Yeah.
So like, in other words, don't blindly follow somebody if you don't know well whether or not you agree with their values, because that's, it's a fool's errand. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, especially in the martial arts, man, because it's such a profound thing. And that's why the relationship is very lopsided, and as all mentor relationships can be. But you change somebody's life so quickly and so profoundly that they're like, oh, you get it. You get it. What are we doing next?
Yeah.
That's a dangerous thing, man. And even if you're not doing it maliciously as like the mentor, like you can really steer somebody the wrong way. Like you can, I don't know, like think you have all the answers and kind of like act accordingly. That's dangerous. Like it's always wise, in my opinion, to act on the side of humility and just always assume there's a strong chance you're wrong. You know, like I don't have the answers. I know, like you said, man, like I know things that have worked for me, and I've seen things that work for other people. And at the end of the day, as long as you're training hard, you're going to figure out what works for you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's it, man. That's it. And I mean, to that end, right? Like if you have achieved mastery to whatever extent you're capable of in one discipline, then if you just take a step back and become the witness, you are very aware that if I'm a master of jiu-jitsu, I am an amateur in every other area of my life. Like that, the skill you acquire in one discipline should highlight your lack of skill in other disciplines, which for me has been super encouraging. It's given me this lens. Like I remember when Henzo would come like on Tuesdays, and I remember him saying one time that in everything he's doing jiu-jitsu. And I didn't know what that meant, right? I was a blue belt. And like now I know what he's saying. That becomes the lens through which you interpret experience. And I have more understanding of jiu-jitsu than I would imagine I have in anything else. I'm trying to have the most understanding of being a human being, right? Like, and putting it all together. But I think jiu-jitsu probably still has it first. But that shows me that like I can take that jiu-jitsu lens and be like, dude, I don't know anything about business. I know so little about actual health, like what's happening in my body.
Yeah.
I know so little about relationships, you know? And for me, it's motivating to take the mastery somewhere and allow it to shine a light on everything where you're not a master, but it's also like, yo, you can get there. You know the script. Show up and train hard, whether that's being the best husband you can be, or best father, or best employee, whatever it is. You just show up relentlessly and you get there, you know?
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit for like a martial arts organization, like a consultant or organization, just kind of breaking down like the virtual academy and things like that. And at first I was like, why are they asking me to share this stuff? Like, I'm not a guru, and there are guys that are way more cutting edge. And, but the truth is we figured it out and we're doing a good job. And then I realized how many people out there how many school owners are just not even trying it. Yeah. And why not? Because they don't get the technology thing. What? Like, man, and this is not to toot my own horn. This is to prove a point. I built our website for our academy. I moved us online. I built out the online course. I started doing all of our photography. Like, I do all of our marketing, like everything. And none of it is award winning, but all of it is passable. And the plus side to that is I'm not beholden to anyone, and I don't need to shy away from things. I'm not hindered by my lack of experience, because I know all I need is a long weekend on my couch and I can build a website. Yeah. Because I've done it. And the truth is, somebody who actually builds websites would do what I did in about 3 hours. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. Good luck finding somebody right now. Like, they're busy. Yeah. Good luck having somebody come to your house and set up this entire digital and photography setup that I have. They're busy and they're not allowed in your house. There's social distancing. Yeah. So the point is, like, if you're scared to jump into things for lack of understanding because you don't want to look like a fool, or it's just you get overwhelmed by it, man, first off, like, jiu-jitsu is no place for you because that's all you're going to encounter. And secondly, like, that means you just can't do anything. Yeah. That means the skill set you have now is what you're going to carry to the last of your days. What kind of a way to live is that? Yeah. And I know you enjoy being a beginner. Like, you enjoy being an imbecile. You should start woodworking.
Yeah.
But we can do anything. We can literally do anything. Anything.
You can become, like, above competent in 99% of things, right? You can be skilled in most things. But like you said at the beginning, well, we only have so much time. Where do you want to put that time? How I kind of viewed it as, like, all right, using the analogy of creating your own path. Imagine you're in a forest, right? And you're at the beginning of the forest. In front of you is just trees everywhere. And at the other end of that forest, it's death, right? But we'll call it, like, whatever you're working toward, your goal, death, whatever it is. And in this big forest, like, you can choose an infinite amount of ways through the forest. But the problem is, like, it's so overly grown. You have an axe, you have to chop all of those ways, and it's always work, like chop wood and carry water, right? The work never stops, but you get to choose where you put that work. But it's never going to be easy. At best, you're going to come across trees that are a perfect match for the way you swing your axe and the type of axe you have, right? And you just walk your way through the forest, finding the trees that work for you. And I think one of the reasons why this consulting companies come to you is because in the martial arts space, like, dude, you found the part of the forest that matches your axe and the way you swing it. It's perfect. You've done it. And in a lot of the ways that you've been successful, I haven't, because, like, I'm not supposed to be in that part of the forest, but I'm doing my best, and we're both recognizing, and it kind of comes intuitively, and it comes from that heart space where it's like, I'm doing the thing I'm supposed to do. But just stepping out and being that witness behind you a little bit and just taking an honest assessment. And am I swinging where I'm supposed to swing? And you've done it. And I know I tell you this, I'm telling you this with increasing rapidity as I realize how successfully you adapt to everything. And I know it's difficult, but you do it and you crush it. And I'm kind of like a laggard behind you. Like, you're very much my mentor in these things because I'm swinging a different axe, but it's been amazing to watch you find, like, the path, because you've got it. And this will lead to other things. It's the whole Jungian idea that you be an apprentice and you go through a path. Actually, I'll show it this way. And then once you come through the path, it opens up into more possibilities. But you have to channel yourself through and be something so you could be a lot of things. Like, this is going to lead to a lot of things for you because you've channeled yourself in a discipline that was meant for your skills,
But the truth is, I agree with you. And at 35 years old, I'm starting to see how that works, how people become successful and how, like, other opportunities kind of open up. I'm starting to see that because today right now, is my 6-year anniversary of the very first class at McHugh BJJ.
Dude, happy anniversary.
Yep. April 21st, 2014 was the first. We did an open mat or whatever. We did an open house, we called it.
Awesome.
But if you went back in time to that person on April 21st and you were like a martial arts consulting agency, you would not ask him for his input on anything. Yeah. And I wouldn't ask that guy for input on anything, but I would appreciate his willingness to not know what the hell he's doing and try anyway. Yeah. And the lesson is this: for 6 years, my nose went down into the grindstone and I worked. Not a lot of things worked. I tried a lot of things that went away, and I tried some things that made me look stupid, and I tried some things that worked. And like what you said is, every time I tried, I didn't realize I was doing this, but I was trying to find which tree would work with my axe. Yeah. And then the only way to find out, Chris, is to swing your friggin' axe. Yeah. You know, and like the idea is don't dull your axe against the one tree that is clearly not meant for that axe. And a lot of people do that. Mm-hmm. And I was doing that, like kickboxing programs and stuff. Get out of here. What am I doing? Yeah. You know, and the point is though, like once you make it through, there are going to be other opportunities, and you're going to have to sharpen your axe again though. Like, mm-hmm. And I'm scared. I don't like being in front of cameras. I'm starting to get better at it because in the last 5-6 weeks, that's all I've been doing. And before that, I'd be scared, man. I've actually skirted a couple of chances and opportunities to be in front of cameras. Yeah. And that was a mistake. That was like a chance to swing the axe that instead of swinging the axe, I put it down and I walked away. But the point is, like, those opportunities will come. The more, like, you know, make your way through the forest, yeah. But it's not going to be easy. It's still going to be scary when you have to branch off. It's still going to take a whole lot of work. In a lot of ways, you go right back to square one to branch off. But why is that not as daunting? Because you already know how to do it from making your way through the forest the first time.
Yeah. In keeping with these metaphors of nature, because, dude, it teaches you everything. It's incredible. Like I was hiking up a mountain recently, and there's like switchbacks. And I love this metaphor for life. Like, we have all had to iterate and adapt very quickly. We were on one path and we had to go this way now. You don't have a choice, right? When you were in that turn, you can't see up ahead. Like, by definition, you can't. You're looking at the wall of a berm and all you can see is what's right in front of you. But then you come out the other side and you get this long sight where you know where you're going for the next X amount of years. But when you're in that transition, you put your head down and you go step by step. And there's so much anxiety in that transition when you can't see what's up ahead. But that's all life is. It's just that switchback over and over and over. And we keep getting into these turns. And if you're, you know, a Ray Dalio who buys into the idea that your job is to fail and iterate as many times as possible, then you're always going to be in that burn. You're going to spend your life in perpetuity in a place of being an amateur. And to go back to Ram Dass, the more you become a nobody and the less you're a somebody who identifies with what you are, the easier it is to take all those turns, you know, because you have nothing to defend because you aren't trying to be anybody other than just walk your path.
Right. That, man, I'm gonna have to get going in a couple minutes, but one thing that you might be able to shed some light on, I had somebody in my circle, like a younger lady. She reached out because she's got so many things she wants to do, but she just has such a hard time putting herself out there for fear of judgment and looking stupid. And she asked me like how I overcome that. And I was like, the truth is, like, I put things out and I no longer give a damn. And it's such a beautiful thing to not care anymore. Yeah. Like, I don't care if I look stupid. I don't care if, like, my hair looks like garbage, and I do want to be jacked, and luckily I am. So I don't have to worry about that. But, like, advice for somebody who's scared to put themselves out there. And my thing was this, like, I don't want to give too much away, but I brought up, I was like, look, you have an opportunity, like, make content and put it out there. Before you know it, you could be like Stuart Cooper. And she's like, what? I'm way better than him. I was like, well, how would anybody know? Yeah. Like, no one will ever know unless you put it out there. You got to put it out there. As Seth Godin would say, you got to ship. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Ship it. What do you think?
I think that you can orient yourself in life by two fundamental ways: by meaning, which is like a Jordan Peterson thesis, that you can use meaning to orient yourself in your life and it will tell you where to go. That experience of losing yourself in something that you love, right? In time passing like that, that's a good indicator that you're doing what you're supposed to do. I think the other one, the one that's less talked about, which is probably easier to read, is fear. I've always used that feeling in my gut, that visceral feeling of anything that terrifies me. I have to do that thing because I've associated that feeling with that's the change that you need in your life. So it's not like, oh my God, I'm terrified. That's my body's way of telling me that this is the dragon I need to slay to get to the next goal.
Right.
And I've used that for everything. Like, bro, I remember riding my bike through Mercer Park with Rob Cook, and he asked me to officiate his wedding. And I never spoke publicly other than like a jiu-jitsu mat. And immediately I had this rush of energy in my belly and I was terrified. And I was just like, shit, I have to do it now. Because I drew a line in the sand that when I feel that feeling, I'll pursue that. Now I'm not running off into traffic, but when it's a threat to you're not enough as you are and you need to go on your hero's journey and level up to be able to do this thing, it's a call that like it's your soul begging to be made manifest. So that's what I would tell her.
Let's say why the fear is there though. The fear is there. So I gotta criticize you briefly. Can I do that?
Please. I would love that.
Remember when you were trying to do that thing that Tim Ferriss would do where he would like lay down on the floor, or no, he would get people he would ask crazy things knowing that they would say no.
I don't remember this.
Yeah. You were doing something where like you were just,
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
For example, we'll be like, can I have this for free?
Yeah.
Knowing that they'd probably say no. And what I said to you, my criticism was, no, it doesn't count if you know they're going to say no. You're not invested in that.
Yes.
And the point is that fear, like why you should heed that fear is because you feel fear because you're invested in the outcome. You actually give a shit. You give a damn that it goes well. If you didn't care about Rob Cook and Gabby, you would be like, yeah, let's do it. No, I'll go off the cuff because you wouldn't care if it didn't work well, but you care so much about them. You're invested in the outcome. Yeah. So that fear is an indicator because you give a damn. Therefore, don't hide from it. Do it.
Yeah. Fear is another variant of meaning, right? That's a weird thing. But I guess using the metaphors we did to kind of wrap things up of going through your forest and creating your own path, it's like if there was a signpost along the way, that feeling of fear is probably the signpost, which is freaking ridiculous. That like, the story of the Buddha is that, okay, you're either going to become a king or an enlightened being. And his dad said, no, I want him to be a king. So what did the dad have to do? He had to not let him suffer because suffering yields enlightenment, right? And we know it from jiu-jitsu and everything else that the worse a thing is that happens to you and the more painful it is, the more growth inducing it becomes, right? The more mud there is, the more opportunity for a lotus. So I like the terminology of, you slay the dragon to win the gold. We're so caught up in the dragon and what we're afraid of, and we think it's something separate from the gold. It should be hyphenated. It should be dragon gold. They're one experience. It's the same thing. And if we start to just change our relationship to it, knowing that that's being Stuart Cooper and this feeling are the same thing. And if you can just link them together, this thing is not some scary dragon in isolation. It's your future self.
I love it.
I love you, bro. Dude, this is awesome.
I've been waiting for you to bring that dragon gold metaphor around full circle since you first told me about it. I think it's beautiful and profound, and I'm glad that you finally unleashed it.
Dude, appreciate that. Yeah, I hope it's useful. And I hope I can skillfully upload this from the cloud to YouTube so other people can enjoy this conversation.
I hope so too. If not, I learned a lot and it was valuable for me, but we should do it again soon, my man.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate it, man. This just talking to you makes all the stuff we're going through just so much lighter and better. So I appreciate you.
Piece of cake. We could do this forever.
We could. All right, bro. Love you, dude.
See you, dude. Have a good one.
You too.